Hi everyone, it's Sherry Palmer here. I'm having kind of a pre-cold or sort of getting sick today, so bear with me. I'm not feeling that great. I've had a long day, but as you know, we have a new show called The 4 at 4, so every day we're supposed to go online at 4. I am a little late. Um, like I said, I'm not feeling great today, but I wanted to make sure I came on here and talked about a super important topic to me. I had some conversations with our local city manager and chief of police. If some of you don't know, I live in the city of Corinth, Texas, and I've had lots of conversations with our city and police and different people for different circumstances throughout the years. Just to give you a recap, if some of you don't know some of my background, that is, just over a decade ago, the police became involved in my custody situation during a time when I was formerly married to the father of my children. Well, the father of three of them. My first one was from my first husband. And they escalated our situation as opposed to doing what they claim that they do when somebody calls them out for assistance, and that is you expect to get protection when you call the police out. And then after that incident happened where I didn't get the kind of service that I thought the police should be providing, they got a new chief in. And recently, if you guys have been following Corinth history at all, our chief stepped down. And so immediately after that happened, I noticed some behaviors going on with our police department that was reminiscent to me of behaviors that had occurred in the past. So it was clear that their leadership had left and that there were still some police in the police force who are influencing certain behaviors. But anyways, I know some of that may not make sense to you. You can private message me if you're wondering what I'm talking about. But what I want to discuss with you is if you are in any kind of situation ever where you need to involve the police in your life, you need to call them out or someone else has called them, I want to let you know a couple of tips. One of them that I've learned today is do not open your front door if the police come to your door. Because apparently, if you do open your front door and you go to step out, you don't know how the police are going to interpret that space between your front door and your porch area, for starters, okay? Do they consider that still your private home or not? And the second thing is, even if they do they have a policy regarding, excuse me, clear my throat here. Do they have a policy regarding how they are to interact with you regarding your private home, right? So some police forces have what's called general orders that they create, and those orders are supposed to guide them in how they address situations in certain circumstances. So in other words, we all know what most their automobile policies are if they pull you over, what their search policies are, and things like that. So if an officer comes over and they are, let's say they're responding to a disturbance call or domestic disturbance call, we all know that the police fear in the communities has increased recently, right? Like over the last couple of years, and since all of the increased awareness of police brutality and excessive use of force has really hit this nation, police have developed a fear in their communities that they're going to be harmed. But aside from that, they have always had a fear of domestic disturbance or domestic violence calls. Those have always been the most dangerous calls for our police officers to run. So we understand that there's more danger and there's more risk to them. However, there is danger and risk in that job. So my question to all of you is, in your mind, if a police officer comes out and they're afraid, um, do you feel that that fear has affected or impacted the way that they address your situation? And I'm here to tell you that yes, it does. Their fear is causing many of them to react in ways that are very, very dangerous to all of us. One of them is like the most recent case that they ruled on in that Arizona case. I think it was Casella, where they shot a woman 4 times who was walking in her yard with a knife. You think about that, don't really understand why they needed to use deadly force. She had a knife, not a gun. They could clearly see that. I'm not really sure why they had to kill her. Supreme Court upheld that killing. So their fear was allowed to drive their response. That's dangerous for you. That's dangerous for your children. It's also dangerous in that the way they analyze these cases is whether or not they feel the police officer was objectively reasonable. Sorry, it's hard to say these things when I'm congested, but was the action they took objectively reasonable? That's a very high standard for somebody to overcome if they're trying to say that they felt that it wasn't a reasonable action or that they violated your rights. So your civil rights and your constitutional rights aren't even really thought about in these instances. And when I was talking to the chief of police and the city manager today, that wasn't really their concern. Their concern was, well, if their actions were reasonable, and they kept wanting to make excuses about when the cops come out, they're trying to protect some unknown victim, right? So they don't really know always who the victim is, but supposedly their actions are to protect themselves and protect if there's a victim in the home. However, what are these actions and what extremes are they allowed to go to? Nobody really said. So you've got to be very cautious about that. If you're going to employ police officers, you need to know first, what are their policies? How are those policies enacted? Make sure you have spoken to your chief of police if you are going through any kind of custody battles before you actually end up in a situation where you have to call them out or utilize them. I have many articles that I pulled up, and I'm going to post them for you guys so you can sort of read about some of the history of police behavior, fear-related behaviors, and different things like that. And I'm going to see if any of you have questions. I'm not sure how to see the comments or if anyone's making any. I don't see any, so I just wanted to let you guys know this, and if you have anything to discuss about it or any experiences that you've had with police in your life, even if it's not regarding child custody, if it's just something in general, please let me know. We do have a host that's on our show. Our show is 4 at 4 every Thursday. She is a retired police officer. She may be able to speak on this topic in much more depth and explain to you. She did participate in some training in her area with police officers, so she might be able to shed some light and help others understand some of what to expect when you're engaging a police officer in your situation. So I think I got paused for some reason. I'm back. Sorry about that. I'm not sure where it dropped off or what you heard last. So Allie, you said you were informed by a lawyer last year not to contact police when your ex doesn't follow court order parenting time. She said calling them would be hurting your case because judges dislike police involvement regarding court orders being enforced. I have heard that before, Allie. But also, in addition to that, the police could come out and could make your situation worse as well, right? So let's say they show up and they decide that they want to make something more of your call, and they want to search your place, and you tell them no, you don't want them to search, and they force their way in, even though they're violating your constitutional rights, now you're in a situation where they can trump up charges against you. They can do all sorts of things that are going to cost you a lot of time and effort and money. And in the meantime, your child could be taken. The other side can use that. So you could end up with a cop totally blowing something out of proportion. And the city's going to want to default to believing the police officer. So yeah, it does bring a lot of risk in your situation. I'm really sorry to say that it does. I wish that I could say we could trust the police force more, but in general, I haven't been trusting of them in a long, long time. The other thing that people are afraid of when the police are called out is that they might find something on you, right? They might find something that you've done wrong, and you may end up getting arrested for something completely unrelated to the call, because they're going to come out there and they're going to look. They're going to look for something to somebody to blame, some justification to take somebody in, even if that's their horrible way of resolving situations. Sometimes it's arresting the victim, many times. So you got to be very careful with that. And thanks for joining me, all of you. If you have something to chime in about, I'm trying to look at some of the articles that I pulled over, and it's pausing the feed when I do that. So hang on with me. Let me go back to my article. All right, thanks for holding on. So another article that I pulled up is that there is a 20-year-old white woman. Thanks, Allie. I totally believe you. Okay, I don't understand your last comment, Allie, but I'll get back to it in a minute. So I pulled up another article. It's a 20-year-old white woman. So she's a millennial, and she says she fears the police. So you have to start looking at that as well. She's fearing them, she says, because of all the police violence that she sees on the news and all of the reporting. And again, that's escalating police fear as well, not just your individual fear, but as society becomes more fearful of the police become more fearful of you. So I hope you're understanding what I'm saying is this recipe is not good, because the police have guns. They can use force. They get protected most of the time to use that force. So the more fear they have, the more danger you're in. And we need to solve that problem. That's not acceptable for our police to respond in fear. They're going to have to find ways to train. And one of the solutions that I saw one officer talk about was he used some de-escalation techniques. He would talk to the people. He would try to find out what's happening, understand the situation. Doesn't sound too hard or too unreasonable, does it? Sure, domestic violence cases have proven to be the most dangerous. But if you go in there guns a-blazing, you're probably going to create a worse situation than might have even been there. So the police need to realize that they can't just go in there guns a-blazing. It's a dangerous job. Don't take it if you don't feel you can handle it. But you're going to have to go into dangerous situations and try to make the situation better. That's just your job. We as a society can't trust the police force until they get police officers in there that can do that kind of job. And de-escalation is key. Our interim police chief asked me today, what can he do to improve the relations of his police force and with me? And essentially what he's saying with society who has the feelings like I do. And I told him to do the same job that our former chief was doing. And that was to make sure the police are getting to know their community, doing community policing, being friendly with the community, and trying to understand what is important within the community and understanding the activities of their residents, right? That really did work. And I don't know why that's so difficult for most or incoming chiefs to understand, or so difficult for them to do, other than they're not teaching proper de-escalation tactics or techniques. And the other thing is their training is obviously lacking in identifying when their officers' fear is causing their officers to misinterpret a situation and to escalate a situation rather than de-escalate it. So Allie, let's go back to your comment. You said, yes, that happened. You're forced to give your 4-year-old to a legal stranger and he was kidnapped. So I'm presuming that was a custody situation. I don't know whether did you keep your son during a time that the other side was supposed to have him? I don't know. So maybe you can elaborate on that comment a little more. So if I have any other questions, let me know. Or if you've had experiences with police officers that concern you, please let me know. We want to talk about them. And if you don't have any more questions, then send me articles that you have that show even good behaviors from police, because I would like to know more solutions. I would like to present some more solutions to our interim chief here so that as they look and hire a new one, we can continue the former trend that we had in the city of Corinth where the officers were behaving better and doing a good job. Like I said, unfortunately, I can't say that that's true right now for the city of Corinth. So I'm letting Corinth residents know, please do not open your door to the Corinth police until this situation is for sure contained and the police officers are going to behave properly and do their job as respectful police officers should do their job. All right. So I hope this helps all of you. And I hope you take this as a public service announcement. Let me know. Again, feel free to private message me or visit us on the 4 at 4. Again, there will be one of us hosts on Facebook Live every day. That could be 4 o'clock Central Time. It could be 4 o'clock Eastern Time or 4 o'clock Pacific Time. So just check on Facebook. And thanks, Allie. Check on Facebook. Find out who's on. Melody Brooks on Monday. I'm Sherry Palmer. I'm on Tuesday. Monica Shimonik is on Friday. And when Catherine McWillie gets back, she'll be on Wednesday. And our show with all 4 of us is on Thursday. Go on and like our page, the 4 at 4. And thanks for joining me today. I hope you all have a peaceful and great evening. And I hope you tune in later. I might throw some videos up. I have a dance competition to go to. A bunch of my friends will be in it. I hope you cheer for them. I'll try to stream some of that live for you tonight. Thanks and take care and see you next time. Bye, everyone.